Hello YouTube, welcome to the people them. It's Yolanda and you're watching Flash Black Friday, where every Friday I will flash a black to a revolutionary hero who has made an impact within the community that is, guess what? Black. Flash Black Friday is about restoring faith within the Black community. So if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe so that you can get notified every single Friday when I upload a new video talking about a different hero. So today I decided to talk about Mr. Garrett Augustus Morgan, who is an innovator and he is a hustler. A hustler. Yes, he is, and he has invented and helped to improve a lot of inventions. So listen in and you're gonna hear about who is Garrett Morgan. So Garrett Augustus Morgan was born March 4th, 1877. Yes. His parents were two former slaves. His mother, her name was Elizabeth Reed, and his father's name was Sidney Morgan. And he was actually freed in 1863. So that would be what, like 14 years before homeboy was born. He is the 7th of 11 children. You know, I can't be even so surprised because like, I'm a pretty big family myself. But he was the 7th of 11 children. Wow. He moved to Cincinnati, Ohio to look for work with only a 6th grade education. Well, many people had to leave school a little bit earlier because, you know, this is back in the day, slavery time. So, you know, Black people needed to work. So he moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, and he ended up meeting his wife. With age and finance, he did end up hiring a personal tutor so that he could learn some things he didn't get to learn in school. He picked up a job as a sewing machine mechanic and quickly began work in Cincinnati, Ohio as a sewing machine mechanic. Over the years, he would learn the ins and outs of this job and eventually patent his own improved version of the sewing machine. So Garrett Morgan would later on move to Cleveland, Ohio with his wife, and they both opened up their own repair shop in 1907. This move would ultimately pave their way to financial freedom. We all want that, don't we? Since his wife was a seamstress and often would run into problem when it came to sewing wool. The wool often became scorched by, you know, the sewing needle because it ran at such a high speed. Now, Mr. Garrett Morgan was a problem solver. So he said, dang, I got an idea. He then experimented with a chemical solution to kind of reduce the friction and the scorching of the needle. He then noticed that when he put this chemical on, the hair fibers went straight. He then made this liquid into a cream and decided, you know, I'm gonna try it on the neighboring dog. And it worked. So he said, you know what? Third time's a charm. Let me go out and let me try this on myself. And he put it on his head top, and guess what? It worked. So he quickly ran down and got it patented and opened up G.A. Morgan's hair refining company. Yeah. And he sold most of his products to the African American community. This was so successful that it was what led him to financial freedom. While the cream sold beautifully, he decided that he was going to also make a black hair oil dye. And then he decided that he was going to take these metal fibers and make them a little bit curved. And he called this the curved tooth comb, also known as the hot comb. And I know if you're a Black girl, probably within my age group, you've had that used in your head once and you already know. Oh, damn, the pain, all right? Pain. Now, these inventions were quite important at the time because, you know, Black folks, we needed to blend in. It was harder to get jobs with your natural hair, your afro. They didn't like that. So this perm was highly recommended at the time. I am personally against perm. I wouldn't use it in today's form. If you do, that's fine. That is fine. But you should research what is actually in the product, right? So I'm like 4 years clean, about 5 years clean of perm. These stuff was important. The perm, you know, the hair dye to keep you looking younger and stuff, you know, those are going a little gray, and for straightening your hair, like the hot comb was a necessity. So he ultimately gained financial freedom because of these products. So in 1908, Garrett began to become a little bit more aware of his surroundings and the life that he was living. I mean, his parents were freed slaves, but, you know, he started to realize he was too Black as well. In 1908, he decided to help organize a Black country club called the Cleveland Associates of Colored Men, and that was there to improve the social and economic conditions for the African American community. In 1909, he and his wife would yet again open up another shop called Morgan's Cut Rate Ladies Clothing, right? You see, he's so much like me, like, he puts his name in everything, right? So you can't deny that it's his, that it's not his, you know? So he opened up the Morgan's Cut Rate Ladies Clothing, and this shop would house 32 employees. And there they made coats and suits and dresses and, like, you know, the essentials that you needed as a Black person then. His inventions were not even close to being finished at that point. So around 1912, he would create his first breathing device. This device was for smoke and gases and other pollutants, right? He called this the safety hood, but what we would now know as today, the gas mask. He went on to patent this idea in 1914 after founding the National Safety Device Company to market it. This invention, of all of his other inventions, would be a lot harder to market because of the whites down in the South. They gave him a lot of resistance. I mean, he's a Black man inventing things and proving things. So when he realized how important this invention was, he knew that he needed to get this out regardless, especially because of the resistance that he was being met with. So he decided that, you know what, he's going to put a white face up in the forefront. So he went on to hire a white actor. He disguised himself as a Native American named Big Chief Mason. I don't know why I find that funny, but Big Chief Mason. He would often have to go inside to personally demonstrate the device and how it worked. So he would dress up in a hoodie, and, you know, he'd already had the mask and stuff on, and he was able to play it off that he was in fact a Native American. So going in there and demonstrating himself and having a white actor up in the forefront turned out to be a very successful tactic. The gas mask consisted of a wet sponge to filter out the smoke and to cool the air. He realized that since smoke rises, all the breathable air would be where? At the bottom. He was using this. He would end up attaching very long tubes that dangled to the breathable air. This invention would win him first prize at the Second International Exposition of Safety and Sanitary in New York. He also won a gold medal at the International Associates of Fire Chiefs. This gas mask that he created would ultimately turn out to be the prototype and the blueprint for the gas mask that was used in World War I. And that was used to protect the soldiers from toxic gases. Now, this device turned out to be both simple and effective. Unlike the other designs, which were either too difficult to put on, they were all around unreliable, or just completely ineffective. Now, this design would be recognized nationally after Garrett Morgan led a rescue on July 24th, 1916. Now, the city of Cleveland was drilling a new tunnel underneath Lake Erie in hopes of finding some fresh water. They ended up hitting a pocket of natural gas, and a huge explosion erupted, trapping all of the workers in the tunnel, suffocating them with the fumes and the dust. So, of course, naturally, rescue workers were sent in, but they weren't coming back out. So now, they need to do something. Morgan and his brother got the call, and they jumped up and they flew. They grabbed the spare masks, all the spare masks they could find, or that he had, and they took off to the tunnel. Now, he and his brother would go in. Everybody was a little bit skeptical at first, of course, because they didn't trust the device. I mean, all the other workers were going in with the other device, and they just weren't making it out, so they didn't really trust. So his brother and him went in there first, and they came back out pulling out 2 bodies. So when the brothers came out with the 2 bodies, they realized that the mask worked. So the other rescue workers, they put them on and they went in, and altogether, some sites say they pulled out about 20 bodies. Garrett Morgan himself made 4 trips going back inside the tunnel. You would think with this device that he would get the proper recognition and publicity that he deserved. With all the publicity that was gained, it actually ended up hurting his sales, because they found out that he was not Native American. He was African American. Like, they're like, this is not what I signed up for. So when they discovered that he was not Native American, they refused to buy his product, even though it worked. Can you imagine that? I'll never understand their mindset. To add insult to injury, they never gave Garrett Morgan nor his brother the proper recognition that they deserved. Instead, you know what they did? They went and they thanked the other people who went in after Morgan and his brother demonstrated it, and they gave them medals. All because they didn't want to award the black man. Damn. But you know what? Despite that, that did not stop Garrett at all in regards to focusing on fixing problems. You ain't gonna stop him, no, 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 no. You gotta do that with 2 people. Now, with all his inventions, and especially with the perm and the hair straightener, he was able to, of course, not have to really worry in regards to finances. Garrett Morgan was the first black man in Cleveland to own a vehicle. He was a hustler. He's a hustler, homie. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike for that. When Garrett started driving, he would frequently buck across accidents, of course, right? Because where there's vehicles and humans, there's destined to be accidents. After witnessing a carriage collision in a particularly problematic intersection, he quickly thought of an idea. Yes, he did. That's what he does. He fixes problems. So in the early 1920s, he created the T-shaped traffic signal, which was a rudimentary version of the three-way traffic signal that we see today. So what he added to this traffic signal was the third feature, also known as the warning, or I guess caution, you know, be careful, the light's about to change. Now, before Garrett Morgan's improved version of the stoplight, it was just the stop and go. And you know, that was a problem for those who didn't get to stop and those who were going, you know? Obviously, this would cause many collisions for those who were still in the intersection and didn't yet get to clear it. This addition would save millions of people's lives and is used by billions across the world today. Yes, it is. Eventually, Garrett Morgan would sell the rights to this invention, and he sold it to General Electrics. Damn it, there's always that word. He sold it to General Electrics in 1923, and he sold it for about $40,000, which today would be about 500 grand. So over the years, Garrett Morgan would continue to focus on his observed problems. This would range from fixing hats and belts and car parts, you know, just all around everything. Anything he saw that could be fixed, he wanted to fix it. In 1920, he launched an African-American newspaper called the Cleveland Call, and that name was later changed to Call and Post. He would often donate money to African-American colleges, and all around, he was a jack of all trades. He was a handyman. He was a hustler. A hustler. I don't know. Every time I feel like I say that word, I feel like I say it so corny. He was a hustler. A hustler. He hustled hard. In 1943, he developed glaucoma and would eventually go blind. Garrett Morgan would eventually pass away in Cleveland, Ohio, July 27th, 1963. This was just before Emancipation Proclamation Centennial, which was an event that he had been awaiting for a very long time. But just before his death, Morgan was honored by the U.S. government for his traffic light signal. Yeah, he was. And he was honored for his role that he played, which was a very important role in the Lake Erie explosion rescue. Yes, he did it. That is the story of Mr. Garrett Morgan and the impact that he kind of left in society. You know, you probably don't know about his inventions, but you do now. And now you know the name behind the things that you have been utilizing, especially if you're a Black person, you know? So that is the story of Mr. Morgan and the impact that he left. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. I hope you learned something new today. And you know, if you haven't read this already, have enough courage to start and enough heart to finish, yes, make sure you learn something new every day. If you have not already, like and subscribe so that you can get notified every single time I upload a new video, which is on Fridays. So look out, look out, look out, look out. I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed day. And God be with y'all. You know. Thank you for tuning in. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.